Okay, we're going to start now. I think everything is working, although I've got the live stream set up high up, so probably best to have it as like two windows. Yes, but that's what we can do for now. hmm So I don't think anybody's watching. I'm not sure if anybody's going to watch, but uh, if anybody starts watching, then what I want to do is go through stuff about the Rippaverse, I guess, random Rippaverse ramblings. But I got a comment from Garfield's Bizarre Adventure saying I should live stream more, and doing live streams about Braxcast or Rippaverse related stuff is cool. Uh, or basically just about anything. So I did Civ 5 months and months ago, and I'm doing this with StreamYard now, but using something like StreamYard, or not StreamYard, OBS, I think would probably be better to have like layouts and actually get professional layouts and all of that would make it a nice experience. But I do have one viewer maybe, or not anymore. But what I would want to talk about would be, uh, I'd say this fan art is pretty cool. Again, let's get that up there. Uh, Looking at this, I think I first saw this on my phone. This is a painting by one Robert Villacava, who read a Horseman, Horseman and just wants more of that vigilante. Painted this in Clip Studio. It's pretty good. I think blowing up like this, perspective looks a bit better. I saw this on my like phone, and it looked a little bit off to me, but looking at it like this, actually looks pretty cool to me. So absolutely love this. Horseman's a really cool character, so that ongoing series of Horsemen is going to be something really interesting to keep up with. That is definitely what I had. Oh, that's the impression I had before talking to Chuck Dixon. But when I did, I believe that was on 51 of the Braxcast. Um, that was a really like got me hyped for Horseman because of all the stuff that's going to cross over with Alpha Core from what he said, and just the general plot of this character. I think if anybody can make the vigilante or revive the idea of a vigilante type character, it's going to be someone like Chuck Dixon, who wrote Punisher, wrote Batman. So he definitely is cream of the crop in terms of bringing those sorts of stories. Student of God, how are you doing? I'm doing fantastic. So, just going over some Rippaverse stuff. So, I've got the ISOM free page here loaded up, $406,000. So, with the ISOM campaigns, I guess we can go over them because I think this is very interesting to talk about. But, of course, you've got a lot of people who say that the decline in terms of that raw dollar amount is indicative of this abject failure. I don't really want to get into that, but I really think that what Eric July did with the Rippaverse, coming out making $3.7 million in that first campaign, and then making 2.3 in that second campaign, and selling like, I believe between the two of those, it was like over 50,000 books between the first two books of Isom. And I think now they're over having sold 100,000 books. So there definitely is a big market for this. It's just, it started off as being Isom, and that really excited the niche. Excuse me. I'm really bad at speaking. I think all the time, but I make videos anyway, and I'm doing this live stream anyway. But the niche of the comic book audience, especially the indie comic book audience, got really excited for Isom, really threw a lot of momentum behind it for one, and a lot of that was maintained in two. But now having that fantastic like mandate from the fans economically, Rippa has been able to make a whole bunch of books, and the fans are dispersing themselves in terms of what they prefer. I've seen comments from people saying, "Oh, I only want Yaira," or "I didn't want Gooding," or "I'm waiting for Horseman," "I'm waiting for Sersha," this, that, and the third. And that's really the beauty of this. is that it's not going to be any one book that's making that amount of money, but the revenue and the profit margins for his business, I think, are going to be rather healthy, and it's going to allow him to do a lot of really interesting stuff for the fans, like the memberships and the animations, and just green lighting books left and right. I mean, we've got like 14 books coming out. Great War of Separation is shipping next week, and we're getting Yaira 2 this month. And we're probably going to get Ripazine. And then in Represent, we're going to get that 32-page manga probably by like mid-April at the latest, from what he was saying about this live stream today, on his live stream today, if I've got that correct. But if you're still in the chat, student of God, what do you think about my commentary? Is it spot on, or I don't know, I'm not sure if I can say on YouTube, but am I just a sycophant for the Mr. Eric G, Mr. Eric July? Oh man. Yes, catch street. That's his catchphrase apparently, and he hasn't really said it. So there's a lot about Isom we want to know, but the really thing that I want is a young Isom series. So it is going to be an absolute missed opportunity that if Eric doesn't greenlight a young Isom series, especially with the Isom statue coming out, and the fact that this book Isom Free is making over 400,000 and it has sold over 6,400 books. So it's probably going to have sold, I don't know, between 10 and 15,000 books. It'll probably hit that 750K milestone. This is the one that I want. I just reviewed the Dokubon cards today, episode 55. And that was a third deck, and I love going through those decks, those lenticular cards. So getting that 750K Dokubon card, unlocking that is what I really want, and all the other ones would be cool, especially the concept art book and those action figures. Which, by the way, there was a misprint on the Rippaverse Trinity book. And I noticed this at the end when it shows off the young Isom statue. It says it's made by McFarlane Toys instead of Iron Studios, which is who are making the who are making the young Isom statue, which leads me to think there probably is a McFarlane Toys statue in the works, and maybe it was not maybe it was an intentional error, because this is a little hint trying to break through the NDA that McFarlane Toys is working on a young Isom, or just an Isom statue in general. But we'll see about that. Oh, Eric the Guapo. You watched my card review today. Thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm not the best reader, but I hopefully get the information across. But like I said, if you can pick up any deck of the cards, and see them in person, the lenticular designs are really good. And I do have the other two decks reviewed. So the one that came with the Isom 1 campaign and the one that came with the Yaira 1 campaign. I have reviewed those as well. I've gone over all that information. So be sure to check those out. I forget which exact episodes they are, and I don't want to go looking through the archives, but just search like Dokumon's archives, and you'll see those other two if you enjoyed the one I did today. I've got those other two if you haven't checked those out. But thank you, and thank you for saying it was good. I really appreciate that. So Student OG, probably going to get a Teen Titans like series for younger kids. I asked about this. This could easily outsell everything in my opinion. Honestly, I agree with that. So I'm 26, and I was like the really good age for that original Teen Titans series. So if they could do a really good campaign like that, and who knows, young Isom could be involved in that. He could either be like the Robin, or he could be someone who works with them. There's a lot of ways you could do a series like that, and you could have them passing on into the current timeline, so establishing like Isom, young Isom, and I'm not sure if you would have young Naira. I don't think that would make sense, but you could have other characters. There's a lot of man-made XF, so you could have like government experimentation. There's so many angles you could go about that, but a Teen Titans series would be really, really cool to see. So Eric the Guapo, you have the first deck, but I decided not to get the other ones just because of the price. I have been gathering the foil covers instead. honestly, that is fair. They are a bit pricey. They're like, it's around $75, $80 a pop. And you only got room in the budget to do that or collect the foil covers. I've been fortunate enough where I've been collecting everything. But I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I'm going to be able to do that, especially with the amount of stuff that they're releasing. Who boy, I mean, Isom Free was quite expensive. But there is going to be a little bit of a break in the release schedule. But those foil covers are absolutely really cool. And actually, we'll go to we'll click on Isom Free, and we'll check out the cover for cover C. This is cover C. This is going to be the foil and embossed cover, and I believe this is a Will Conrad cover. Will Conrad having done the Dokumon card art. Absolutely stellar artist, also interior artist on Gooding the Polymath. So really love his artwork, and doing this cover for Ice of Free is going to be really epic, especially foil and embossed. Those ones are absolutely killer. So let's see. You also paint miniatures, so my hobby budget is stretched very thin. That's what Eric is saying. Yes, I imagine. Yeah, I said I read that one. You're getting the foil cover said. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Always love to see that. And I really love just talking about these books. But there's another thing that is not from the Rippaverse, but Iconic Comics. Yeah, Mike Barron is an absolutely fantastic writer. So I read Thin Blue Line. It was like this really cop thriller story. Well, not thriller story, but it was basically something that was inspired by the Summer of Love in 2020, with a cop duo navigating a complete anarchy laden riot over the racial tensions and all those sorts of things going on in the inner city at that time. Really well written, exactly how he said it was, and it was a very fair presentation of just that situation. And it was also just well structured. It was really nice to read through. And of course, Gooding, absolutely fantastic book. Really gives us a good introduction to the character of Gooding and who he is, and gives us that awesome platform to build out, because there's some more stuff that we need in between the end of Polymath and to Isom 2 that Mike Barron really needs to flesh out, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job at that. But let's get back to reading the comics. Didn't get Thin Blue Line. It's going to sound shallow, but the cover turned me away on that book. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. I think I got the alternate cover because that one looked better to me, but I think that main cover was a pretty weak cover, and I imagine that turns a lot of people off. But we are going to go to the Common America Alpha manga, if I can find that. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Oh yeah, so yeah, this is the Common America Alpha manga. If we can go and see some previews of this, absolutely fantastic. So if you've watched some of my YouTube content or you watch my reviews, you'll know that I reviewed a good bit of iconic comics content. So I did a Black Ops overview, which crosses over with Common America. I did a Common America overview. I reviewed Volume 10, and I reviewed a micro series. So I've read a lot of Common America, basically everything that they have. And this is going to be a 180 page, like a Tenko Bond format. I'm not sure if it's going to read right to left, like something from I think actually, yeah, it does seem like it's going to read like a typical manga. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. So they've got a pretty good fan base over in Japan, and you've had Japanese, I guess mangaka or dojins make dojinshi. My mouth's a bit dry since I'm talking too much, and I'm not good at pronouncing Japanese. But those are the clubs that go to comic hets and these conventions, and they make their own books and they sell them physically to people, which I think is probably the best way for small creators to get out there and sell their books, is to do it at person in conventions. I did that when I went to Porkfest 2 years with Machine to Man, and that's by far how I've sold the most amount of books. And that's probably going to be the trend. Hopefully it's not the trend going forward, and I can get into a nice audience that wants to buy my writings and Lord willing do comic books one day. But this is a really cool thing to see. Absolutely fantastic for fans of Common America because Tim Lim really leans into that manga style. I'm not sure if Tim Lim is doing the art for this. I think he is. But it absolutely looks fantastic. And I know people want the coloring for manga, and I've seen there's some colored manga. Um, I think To Love Ru has a colored manga that's a bit weird. I think One Piece does too. And colored manga looks really good because it's just comics. And you get a good colorist to color good inks for manga. You're going to have something absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to read back at the comments. So Garfield's Bizarre Adventure, hail to you. So hopefully you are doing well. So if you're just getting in, going over the Common America Alpha manga, this is going to be 180 pages, so it's going to be a really sizable tankobon. That's the typical thing. If you go, you get Dragon Ball, Demon Slayer. Those volumes are going to be around that size. They collect on probably around 10 to 13 chapters. So it's going to be about that much content, and it's going to retell a lot of what's going on just from a different perspective and probably fill in things because there's a lot of stuff that goes on since it is a connected universe. But I think I want to go to talking about to the Rippaverse. So we could probably talk or just go through the character section, or I would say the comic section, actually, because Rippa was on a live stream today and he shows off this new series. But first, I'm going to read this comment from Eric. Iconic Comics is solid. Like Arcafina, love that series. Eric Canete, if I'm saying that correct, gives so much personality to his characters, to his art. So I haven't read Arcafina. So yeah, Iconic Comics is doing a lot of stuff. I have not read Arcafina. I got into Common America, I believe, around volume 5, and they're past volume 10, and they're working on the 11th volume. So they've done a lot. So they've got a lot of people working. Of course, they've got Soul Finder with Doug Ernst. They've got Arcafina. I think they've got like some steampunk one. I forget the exact name of it. It might be Arcafina, but I can't remember that one. It looked really cool. I had like this very Ghibli inspired look, and I absolutely wanted to get into that. It's just like making room in the budget, getting time. And I love to review the comics that like I'm currently reading. So I've done basically reviews of so many comics that I have been reading, I guess, currently. So I read the comic and then I do the review right away. And that's how I'm getting myself to go through the stack of comics that I have. But I'm I'm pretty lazy. But of course, the Rippaverse books I review right away because I'm just so invested in this expanded universe, especially Alpha Core. So Alpha Core #1 is coming for free for $100 plus orders on the Item Free campaign. I'm not sure how long that promotion lasts, if it's an entire thing, but it seems like they're going to be doing that consistently for people who want to make big purchases. So $100 plus, you get a free copy of Alpha Core Cover A, of which I have multiples. It's actually the cover. That's my reading copy that I have. I didn't do a video review of Alpha Core #1, but I did do a written review. So that's on the Substack and as an article. But Garfield's Bizarre Adventure says the best book so far is Horseman. Blood Roof is #2, and then Gooding. So Horseman is honestly a really good book. Honestly is a really good book because Chuck Dixon establishes Horseman really well in that, gives us a really good reason for him to be in Flores Park, gets us interested enough in who he is without revealing too much about him, so he can have like a #0 or an origin story. And it's a really great foundation for what we now know is an ongoing series. So I definitely think Horseman's going to be like really up there in terms of the legacy of the Rippaverse. Honestly, Bloodroof and Yaira for me are probably the most top tier. Especially with all the crossovers that are in Bloodroof. So I'm going to get into spoilers just a little bit with Stefania appearing in Bloodroof. Now, I did my review on Bloodroof, and most of you guys really liked it. I had one commenter telling me that the fact that Stefania appears in Bloodroof is this like awful thing, or it compromises the quality of the book because it's just random and it's just plugging Yaira #2 when I would say Yaira #1 because she appears there. And I think it's a really interesting characterization of not only the world but both Blood Roof and Stefania, because Stefania prays in Yaira. I was flipping through as I did the Trinity review, and she's got the scenes where she's praying and she's really wrestling with her sinful nature. And I think exemplifying that in Bloodroof makes it, for readers like me, more interested in just having that for the new readers. If they go and decide to pick up Yaira 1 and they see Stefania, it's going to get them more invested in the universe and make it feel more interconnected. So, and I think it's a very good thing, especially since the Saskas are writing both Bloodroof and Yaira. So a lot of stuff like that is, subjective, and I don't mind people being critical of my reviews. And I actually like that because it gets me to think about what I'm doing more critically and be more measured about how I do things. So no bad blood to him, and I don't want to like name drop him, but you can tell who I'm talking about because it's one of the only comments, and I was responding to him. But that's my like basic response. I don't think I'm going to type out his response to me if you care about that, but I don't consider it to be drama. But I just wanted to just talk about that, I guess, in a live stream. But I'm going to go to Eric's comment, who liked Horseman a lot or very much. Must say I liked Bloodroof more, mostly because of her powers. Her powers are really interesting. And if you've read Isom #2, she does use her powers in a way that's slightly different than how she does it in Bloodroof. But of course, that fight scene with Chokes is probably her most her using her blood powers in a way that materializes the most. It's really interesting. And seeing how that develops over the ongoing series is really good. So there's a lot of stuff coming in. You guys are really interacting with this. I love this. Let's see. Every single Rippaverse comic has characters from other books in it. Marvel used this back in the 80s and 90s, showing that certain heroes and villains are connected. Exactly. So I really think it's not it's not like nefarious that this universe is having characters appear in other books. And plus, it wouldn't make any sense if that wasn't the case. You don't want these books to feel isolated. But anyway, that is that's that comment there. We saw Garfield's Bizarre Adventure, saw that comment. He also claimed Joe Bennett stuck in Nazi, or I'm not sure if I should even say that on the YouTubes, codes and imagery in Alpha Core. Dude is whack. Yeah, he definitely is a bit of a character. I don't think he's this super malicious guy. Of course, Eric talked about in the Beyond the Narrative commentary or video about the more malicious aspects of that. Of course, I wrote Rippaverse Apologetics. It's this 4,000 word article, or I guess essay. That's what I was thinking of it at the time. I spent like a week writing it. It's like in my mornings after the gym is like probably my most productive writing time. That was for a while. It should be still. I've had a lot of stuff in my personal life kind of like threw me off this year, but that's besides the point. But anyway, I wrote that over a week, and going over at the time, basically, I would say the critical mass of all the nonsense that surrounds the Rippaverse. And a lot of it doesn't come to me because I don't get much engagement. Of course, you guys are here, very thankful for that. So Garfield, you suggested I should live stream, and I figured, why not just do a random live stream talking about the Rippaverse, and I don't have to try and structure it, and I can ramble, and I think you guys can find that to be acceptable. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But someone like Mike, to me, we're just two nerds arguing about whose comic book is better, and that's a really harmless thing to me. And it's honestly more of the, I guess, antagonistic. That's probably the best way to describe it. But I don't mean that in a purely negative sense. But I guess the more, where there's conflict, right? I think that's probably the more diplomatic term to use. I prefer the conflicts to go down like that rather than where we're doing this like these gay ops where we're just trying to, or where people are just trying to do absolutely ridiculous things and just saying all of this nonsense about people, instead of just talking about the comic books themselves and if they're good or if they're bad or which ones you want to read and stuff like that. But this really leaks into the idea of people using other people online as entertainment rather than building communities to engage with. But that is outside the scope of this live stream. So let's see. So Eric blocks a lot of the trolly naysayers. Honestly, not a bad move. So that's probably the best thing to do. But this is Alpha Core #1. Of course, Alpha Core #2 is a confirmed project on the Rippaverse that was like the last week of December of 2024, and we got 14 books, and Alpha Core 2 was one of them. And this was one I was always really excited about. And Chuck Dixon, I forget exactly what he said, but I did ask him about that. That is something that is coming along. And the fact of the matter that Horseman and Alpha Core are going to be connected in the ongoing series, that seems to be what he hinted at more so than with that in Yaira, which I'm more interested in, considering if you read the end of Yaira #1. You need to read Alpha Core 1. That is the only book I haven't read yet. Eric, you are missing out. Alpha Core #1 is a fantastic book. So get to the store and order that. I think the D cover is available, but I believe you can get basically all except the embossed. And if you got ISOM #3 and you got an over $100 order, you're getting cover A for free. But it's a fantastic book. And if you liked Horseman, which it sounds like you did, you're going to love Alpha Core because it has those fantastic 2-page spreads, and it gives you a lot of insight into not only how the Alpha Core works, but how the Accepts work in general. So Alpha Core is a really good book to read. Oh, so you have it, you just haven't read it yet. I understand that. I've got a bunch of books I haven't read yet. But with me, I like to read. I read the books, and then I write my review, and then I film my review. And I've been giving myself like books to review by the end of the month to actually get myself to do it. So you also said you blocked EVS, most of the garbage left my timeline. Yeah, that's a disappointing thing. So I backed Rainbow the Brute in April of 2022. And since then, I haven't gotten Rainbow the Brute, which, of course, I'm sure he's working very hard, very diligently in between the 3 to 6 hour trash casts, I've been told. And I don't want to deny that. I don't want to be a slanderer. Uh, but since then, I have gotten 7 comics from the Rippaverse. I've gotten 2 magazines, 2 art books, and next week I'm going to have the Yaira statue and the Great War Separation shipped out to me. So I can only really come to the conclusion that the Rippaverse is actually more productive and doing more in the comic book space than All Caps is on that basis. But that's the only thing I want to say about that. And I don't really want to go and say or be trying to start any foolish quarrels. That wouldn't be the Christian thing to do. That wouldn't be, let's say, the moral thing for me to do. So I don't want to go and be like, oh, this guy is the worst ever, or this or that in the third, because we all got our paths to go, and I want to keep this positive. So I don't want to be negative, but I can say whatever I want on this live stream. So that's why I'm being a bit unhinged. Oh yeah, no, it's okay, Eric. Nobody did anything wrong. It's that like I don't want to drive the stream in that direction. So if we go and we talk about like drama or stuff like that, or someone wants to debate me or something like that, I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with like engaging with it a little bit. But for this live stream, I don't want to be the one where I'm constantly going into that, because I don't want to get in that habit of using that for content, and kind of just want to have a good content with that. And you did back Rainbow the Brute too, so same boat as me. But anyway, that's the last thing. Let's talk about Garfield's Bizarre Adventure, saying really looking forward to the Great War Separation. I think he'll release issue 2 pretty soon. Yeah, that's the impression that I get. So Chuck Dixon probably wrote it as like a 150 to 200 page script, and it's going to be released over the course of probably maybe 3 or 4 issues, and those will probably release pretty consistently, because each one's going to be probably about 50 around that 50 to 60 page mark. So it's going to be like 2 monthly floppies instead of 4. So it's going to be a lot easier for Jack Herbert to get those pages out. And of course, Chuck Dixon's probably written everything, and he's writing more stuff because he's always doing something. He's a busy bee in terms of making comic book scripts, and absolutely gotta love that. So Eric is looking forward to the Great War Separation as well. Interested in the history. I have a feeling it's going to be a huge lore dump. I think it certainly is going to be. So there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be given to us. But I think Chuck is going to present it in a way that's really fun and interesting to the reader. So you're going to get a lot of information about the Rippaverse. I'm sure some of it's going to feel pretty expository, or it's going to feel like this expedition dump, but it's going to be necessary, and it's not going to detract from giving like a really good taste of what the Great War of Separation is going to be. And this one more so than other books in the Rippaverse, since it's going to be about, I think, 56 or 52. In fact, let's see if we can't go to Great War Separation. Not sure if I want to see if I can find the Great War of Separation. Oh, here we go. Great War of Separation. Since we are talking about this, absolutely beautiful. So we've got, the A, the B, the C, the D covers. Of course, I'm getting all of them, so I'll show them off on Braxcast and that little table setup. If you guys watch that, I guess some of you guys watch that. If you guys like it, that's nice. But I definitely want to get things like framed better and get a better setup. And when I hopefully this by, I don't know, around this time next year, a couple months from now, I'm going to get into a new apartment, actually set up like a little studio space that's actually that actually works for me. Then hopefully I can increase the production quality of my video, since I think, while it's nice, I want to be able to get better at it, but it's a process. But if you guys watch, Braxcast, that's how I do it. So I'll show off all these covers when I get them physically. So rest assured you'll get to see that if you guys are invested in what I do. But I think this campaign, or this collection, I should say, and this is a 56 pager by Chuck Dixon. Of course, Jack Herbert is doing the art. I believe he did cover B for Alpha Core #1 with Lillian Renashi and Ingrid Valdez fighting each other. Very interesting thing. Also, I'm kind of spurting out, but let's get back to Dirty Deeds. Eric is in Ripazine #3. So if you are a member of Rippaverse member, even the $5 tier, you'll get a free copy of the Ripazine. So you can consider doing that if you want to get the Ripazine. But if you get the third Ripazine, you're getting that. I believe it's a 16-page short story by Caro Brown, who's the writer. I need to get the artist, but we'll go through some of the comments, and then I'll go into Ripazine #3. Garfield's interested in Zalen, but right now I'm really intrigued by Dirty Deeds. So here's the thing, Garfield. I'm intrigued by both, because what if Dirty Deeds runs into Zalen? Right? What if they both run into Dokuman? What if they both run into the Void Scarabs? I talked about this when I went over Magus Newmight's Dokuman card, that he's of the Void Scarabs. So the Void Scarabs being this intergalactic alien wizards. It's going to be really interesting to see how these all interact on the cosmic scale. And I think Zalen is going to be our insight on that, and then Dirty Deeds is going to be an extension. And it's just going to be another aspect of this part of the Rippaverse that exists way, way outside of Flores Park, right? So that is going to be the really interesting thing. So also got to get some guests on, maybe John's Longbacks, MSK, Renowned, or maybe even Eric himself. I would love to have live stream with other people. Of course, I just went on randomly. But you'd have to at people, since I have 82 subscribers on YouTube. Nobody knows who I am. I wake up and I barely have the epistemic basis to know that I exist. I'm not even a micro celebrity. So Garfield, if you're interested in that, you gotta create the buzz to be hey, you got to get this Joker guy on, and then hopefully I can schedule things with people. But John's Long Box is great. I agree, Eric. I've appeared on some of his live streams, and he's always been really nice to me. And Heroic Tales is fantastic. So I have my review of that. I believe you can get that on Fund My Comic. It's made about $6,000. So hats off to him. And he's working on #2 and #3. He's very passionate about it, and he's got the best collection of basically anybody online in terms of comic books. So mad respect to that man. Let's see. That's so Garfield saying that's true. It's set in the space backdrop. Also seeing Dokemon and Blood Roof was pretty dope. Exactly. Absolutely love. That's probably one of my favorite things within that book, Blood Roof, is that very end. Especially that ending scene that ties everything up, especially Gooding's line of "You haven't gotten my bill yet," being the worst news. Absolutely love Gooding's character, and is really shining in full force in Bloodroof. And this is one of the reasons. This is the reason why I love the Rippaverse, is because of this universe aspect of it, and they're really executing on it. You can say what you want about the Saska sisters, but I think they know how to write comic books, and I'm glad that they're doing it for someone who actually cares about comic books. And that, I think that's Eric July, because he's actually getting the comic books out to the people, and people are liking them. Let's see, I'll put in a word with Renown the next time he streams. I appreciate that, Garfield. Um, Okay, so we are going to Ripazine number 3. That collection is actually still ongoing. So Eric, if you haven't gotten in on this, $82,000, 3,500 books sold. I believe the first 2 Ripazines made over $100,000 each. So this one's, I guess, lagging a little bit behind on that, but still pretty respectable, especially since this is an $8 magazine. Of course, you got the graded copies. I think I got the I Want It All. This is Springy right here. And here's our Dirty Deeds Wanted poster. That's pretty cool. But I did, when I came back, because I was on vacation. And while I was on vacation, the Ripazine Free collection is launched, and I had gotten in on that, or the Ripazine collection launched like before I went on vacation. So the day I would usually talk about it, or I would have talked about it, I didn't. So when I came back, I talked about this, and I probably didn't cover it as well as I would have, because I would have printed out all 3 of these pages, and I would have gone over all of them. I think I just printed out this one. Main criticism for Blood Roof is I just wish we got to see Gooding in more action scenes. Absolutely agree with that. Gooding's action scenes are absolutely fantastic, in the sense that not only can he be like physical himself, he's got all the drones, and of course he's got the suit. But if you had action scenes that were dedicated to Gooding, in Bloodroof, it wouldn't feel like Bloodroof. So the Saskas kept a really good focus on Bloodroof, since she was the star of that first book, and this was really meant to introduce and get the reader familiar with Bloodroof. So putting Gooding in more than he appeared would have detracted from that, and it wouldn't have made it as strong as a Bloodroof book as it was. So while I understand what you're saying, Garfield, I think the way the Saskas went about it is the way they had to, in order to make it the foundation for the ongoing series of Bloodroof, which is the most important thing. And hopefully we do see like more Gooding action scenes. I think he needs to be a prominent character in the Rippaverse, especially. I'm not sure if it's going to be Isom or Alpha Core, but he needs to be a very common recurring character. But I'm not sure if he could have his own ongoing series, but he definitely should have at least a limited series, like a free issue run, after we get more Gooding that gives us I'd say you have like 2 more one-shots that get us to where he was in Isom 2, or where he is in Isom 2, beginning of Bloodroof, and then probably have a limited series to see how the fans like that. Let's see. So my biggest problem was that there were cool things that took place off panel, like transforming into the armor for Gooding and Bloodroof show it. Yeah, I can understand, especially with that scene in Choke. It would have been cool to get some more like a scene, well, I'd say a page where she actually transformed and where it actually retracted. Probably would have made it feel a bit more real. But most of it, I would say, is actually, I wouldn't say it not shown, but yeah, the blood powers, how they appear in this one, is really subtle compared to Isom number 2. I think in a lot of ways, and I think in some ways it's actually more out there, but you have to be, I guess kind of looking for it. Because in Isom number 2, when she's saving Sam, she's literally making like these like circles of blood and landing on that, and that's like really clear to the reader. The other thing, she's really using it as like a way to like cast energy at people, and of course making the armor is a really cool thing. But the way she fights is really really interesting. But I think Montané, while he does do fantastic work, I think probably could have used a bit more, I don't know, direction, and making it appear, I guess, more, let's say transitory is the word, but having it like have that impact that it did in Isom #2. But regardless, I still think it gets to the point that she's got blood powers and it uses her blood. And we're going to see more as that ongoing series goes on. But we're going to get back into the third Ripazine. So this is Dirty Deeds. So I mean, you can see you've got these humanoid characters, you've got these generic like spaceships. You know, these are like generic spy spaceships. You've got, I forget what they're called in Dragon Quest, but like those like squid drop things. Like it's modeled after that. I think that's a definitely a touch from Caro. But I absolutely love this artist. So we're going to go. Let's see. So Marco. Okay. So even scale or Evan Scale and Marco Lesko are the artists, with Evan being the artist and it being colored by Marco Lesko. So very nice to know. Definitely should have searched that up when I talked about this on Braxcast 53, I believe. If I'm getting that, yeah, 50, I think 53. I can't. No, actually 54, right? And this episode was 55. Oh boy. And this is, basically an action scene. It's probably going to be around the climax, considering this is a 16 pager. So you're going to probably only have one fight scene that just establishes who the Dirty Deeds are and sets them up for maybe, I'd say probably a one shot would probably be what this book would get, what Dirty Deeds would get. But we'll see how the fans respond to this, but I think most likely people are going to like this, and people are going to like it so much that Eric gives Caro the green light to write a full script for a one shot, probably somewhere between 56 and 96 pages, which is where the graphic novel length has been for the Rippaverse so far. So let's see. This is the most recent comment, but we're just going to go put that there. So that is Ripazine #3. So you can still back it. The collection is ending March 14th. So that is, let me just check my calendar. 14th of March, that is next Friday. So next week is going to be the last week. And also Ripazine 3 is going to have previews of Isom 3 and Great War Separation. But the thing is, we know we're going to get Great War Separation before Ripazine #3 for sure, because that's fulfilling next week. But we're going to get Ripazine #3 before we get Isom #3. But we're probably going to get Isom #3 pretty soon. So probably like, late April, early May, I imagine, is when we're going to get Isom #3. Really excited for that one to see how the 144 pager wraps up the ill-advised arc. So I haven't done video reviews of Isom 1 and 2. And if you see my video reviews for basically any comic book, and I've done one for all the Rippaverse books after Yaira #1, I definitely want to do it as an ill-advised arc review, where I review it in the context of Isom 1 and 2. I hopefully you guys don't object to that, because I think that'd be the best way to do it. So that way I bring Isom 1 and 2 into the fold of my video review catalog. And I think definitely, since it is the ill-advised arc and it's ending that, and it's going to set up the big foundation for the Rippaverse, right? There's going to be so much they can do narratively when Isom is in the position that he is, and they can determine how he interacts with the rest of the Rippaverse. So it's going to be really exciting to see that. But we'll go, let's see. So this is the Rippaverse Twitter page. Of course, we got that $400,000 in total sales. First trip, or I should say milestone, is at $500,000. That's going to be the cover reveals. We're going to get cover reveals for, said Yaira #3. But we can actually check the page to see actually see no, we got to go back to the Isom Free collection. So hopefully you guys are sticking with me. So we are going to, so Yaira free, and we're going to get Zalin What Kills Must Die and Saoirse #1 cover reveals. So we're most likely going to get to that 500K benchmark, or it's a milestone by the end. And I think 750 is realistic, but considering the fact that people are distributing their readership for the Rippaverse across a lot of books, and people can only buy so many things. I think people are gravitating away towards ISOM, and the Rippaverse isn't really a company based around one single book. It's based around a catalog of books, and people are getting into the catalog of books rather than getting into ISOM. But that's how it was back when ISOM 1 and 2, because that was the Rippaverse, basically was ISOM, because that was the only thing you could buy in terms of books, and of course all the merch was associated with ISOM for ISOM 1 and 2. And then Alpha Core, they made $1.3 million, and they've been branching off. They did Yaira, and then after Yaira with the collection format with Gooding, really showing that they can have, not only have they built a decent back catalog, and it's only going to get really decent, and eventually it's going to be like overwhelmingly good. Um, that people are interacting with that, and the reverse is becoming a brand that people are engaging with, rather than being something tied to one book and one counter. So I'd say the reverse in totality is successful, probably as successful as it was back in the ISOM 1 and 2 days, if not more so, because they've got more stuff to sell and they're a leaner machine. They've got their operations more streamlined because they have experience doing this. So there's so much with this, or I should say, there's so much around these collections and the way things operate that's so outside this, this number right here and this number right there, that I think people do not take into account, and saying like, oh, this number and that number, there's this difference in the red, therefore company failing, or therefore it's a bad thing, or therefore you should go back to, you should only sell your comic books through Diamond, but you can't anymore because Diamond is bankrupt. So I don't think, I think it's a very unfounded thing to say that the Rippaverse is on the verge of bankruptcy based on them not hitting a certain amount for a collection, when they've got a really good business model and they've got a strong readership, which I think you guys can attest to that with how even with how small my platform is. I still have got people who are legitimate fans interacting with my content, and that's just I guess a shadow, or a microcosm of the larger Rippaverse readership, and of course people who would be interested in the Rippaverse but just haven't found it yet, and probably will as it breaches out into the algorithm and gets into the, I guess, comic book reading audience. But so you've been going on for a little over 48 minutes. So if any guys are in and want me to talk about anything, we could cover the IR1 campaign. I could play some chess. I'm really up for anything. It's only 6:51 here, and absolutely love doing this. I could probably gab all day, but I'm gonna drink some water so I can keep on gabbing. Okay, so let's see. So let's cover. Well, actually, we'll cover some of the characters. So, and actually, we'll talk about Yaira, because Yaira is probably, I don't know, definitely going to be central, because she's going to be a nice link between the cosmic aspects of this universe and Flores Park, Texas. So you've got the frosty femme fatale, plays by her own rules and breaks all others. Yara may call Texas her home, but she ain't from around here. What secrets does the Ice Queen hold? Of course, we got some insight into that with Yaira number one. We know about her alter ego, Sally Rodell. I think that was one of the first things. There was still the queue system, for the campaigns back then, and you've got like Sally Rodell's like waitlist or presentation or whatever, and then you had the Yaira number one live action trailer. And actually, well, we've got the official animated trailer here. um Okay, so yeah, absolutely love this, but I wanted to go to the live action Yaira trailer. So I don't think we're gonna watch the entire thing. But if we get to the, I guess, let's see. So yeah, you've got like this press conference, and this was the main motif for the Ira One campaign. I think she was well casted. Um, but we've got, if we can find, I think yeah, this is Altona. She was casted well. But yeah, this is Lincoln. I think like Lincoln Usay Busio. You can never say that correctly. I think like I said this when the trailer came out. This is like over a year ago. I've been doing Braxcast for over a year. It's absolutely crazy to think about. I've been doing it for that long. But when it first came out, I actually compared how he looked in Isom 2. And I think, he needs to be a bit gruffer. Probably needs like, 15 to 20 pounds more muscle and like the beard. But he does wear this in the comic. So I didn't think it was becoming of him at the time, but he was wearing this in the comic. So the Sasuke's kept this pretty accurate to how this scene appears in Yaira #1. And I'm honestly really appreciate that, right? But I think for him to like actually give that appearance of Lincoln needs to be like a little bit more gruffer. So it kind of looks like a dollar store Rick Grimes. If I'm going to be brutally honest, but I still like this live action trailer. It was a bit campy. And I think a lot of people, of course, when it came out at the time, people were saying, it's the worst thing ever. It's like the CW or anything. I mean, by God, guys, have you seen that Powerpuff Girl leak? The CW was going to do a live action Power Girl show, and it was as bad as you think it was. Oh man, but absolutely just the idea of that, so funny. But yeah, love Powerpuffs. The Powerpuff Girls as a kid, I liked watching that, and they were going to just butcher it, but never saw the light of day because nobody watched CW, and because of it was being absolutely campy corporate garbage. And this definitely is a little bit campy, but not for the same reasons. It's because it's a cheap indie production that was filmed in a very short amount of time, and it wasn't filmed trying to be the end all and be all live adaptation of Yaira #1. It was a trailer to promote a comic book for a at the time successful but still quite fledgling, and still the Rippaverse is still having a lot of growing pains. Not a lot of growing pains, but they're still having growing pains. I think really settling it into the brand that they are probably going to end up being, 5, 10 years down the line. But that is the Ira #1 trailer without like watching the full thing. Absolutely love this Ira logo. And I love the Y, especially the Y that comes. Let's see if we can find the Ira statue, because that is filling next week, guys. So that one is going to be a bit hard for me to show off. So hopefully guys are still here. Yeah, see, I can't find. Let's see if we can find the Ira statue. Uh, because you had the box. Actually, if we go to, oh yeah, just lurking at the moment. That's fine, Eric. But yeah, if we go to Eric July's, let's see. Here we go. This is the picture. Absolutely love this Y logo here. Like the Y logo. Yeah, no, it's okay, guys. It's just like just trying to like keep it entertaining, and like when you've got a chat, it's really easy to live stream because you're interacting with stuff, but just like spitballing stuff off of the random is really hard for me. So this is one of the reasons why when Garfield asked me if I live stream, it's one of the reasons why like I'm a little bit hesitant to do it. Not that I don't not enjoy making content, but a live stream is more like interacting with people. So uh you guys actually showed up this time. But the last time I streamed Civ, I was just talking to myself, and that was kind of like the fear that I had. But I'm not talking to myself; I'm talking to random people through a screen. So the schizophrenia doesn't feel nearly as pronounced. But this is the McFarlane Toys Yaira statue. So absolutely awesome to see Rippaverse McFarlane Toys in a partnership. That was again, I feel like every time I talk about something in the Rippaverse, I think about the people who are critical of it because it's literally everything. But they are working together. Hopefully, they work together on more stuff. And of course, this is the Iron Studios statue. And these boxes look absolutely beautiful. So boxes are something that I like, and I think like anybody buys stuff like that in our realm, whether it's game consoles or collector's editions of games, like the boxes that they come in, I think is a special thing. And you can kind of see on the side, you've got that Yaira logo, that Tex Yaira logo that I was talking about in the Yaira 1 trailer, and of course. You've got what's indicative of the final statue, and I think it's a little bit different than what it was, but it's really hard to see from this angle. But it's still going to look absolutely epic, and it's going to be a massive, it's like a foot tall statue. Again, I paid like $500 to get the statue, so it's definitely going to be an absolute banger. And this one's like 300. I could go through the orders, but it's going to dox myself if I do that. But that is yeah, absolutely massive box. So that box is huge. So if I can go back to it. Yeah, it's pretty big. And of course, the young Isom statue does look to be a bit smaller. Like it's a bit shorter, but it's just as wide. So it is absolutely massive. I mean, of course, you see that Isom. I love that young Isom. Iron Studios logo looks really clean. The backdrop, that orange that kind of radiates out. Absolutely love to see that. So we're getting the Iris statue next week, guys. That is really interesting. Not really interesting, really exciting. It's probably the better term to use. So that's definitely something I'm going to be showing off. That and Great War Separation is going to be really cool. So if I get those before Saturday, then you'll definitely see the Yaira statue on Braxcast episode 56. It just depends on how quickly they can get it to FedEx, and then how quickly FedEx can get it to me. So if it leaves the warehouse Monday and it's 2-day shipping, I get it on Wednesday. Or if it happens by, if I get it by Friday, then most likely. But we'll see. Even if I get it delivered to me on Saturday, I can just wait and then film that. But that's a whole other thing. But definitely am going to do that at some point in definitely get the Ira statue filmed for Braxcast. That is definitely something that is going to happen. And I'm really excited for that. But we can also talk about the Gabriel and the Guardians. So I watched the preview for Gabriel and Guardians, and I absolutely loved that. And honestly, it does kind of look like this is going to read from right to left. It's going to be in that manga format, or I'd say it's going to read like a manga. So we'll see how that works. Of course, when I watched the Gabriel and the Guardians animation, that first episode, or the preview of the first episode on the Rippaverse Comics channel, really liked it. Some of the animation was a bit stiff, but I was interested in it, and it's definitely indicative that Angel Studios knows what they're doing. They're making a lot of content. I watched, I think it was Sound of Hope. Yeah, so Sound of Freedom was the one with Jim Caviezel that made a boatload of money. Definitely in comparison to its budget, definitely not in comparison to the box office numbers that Marvel, or I should say Disney, and James Cameron have been able to produce in their heyday, right? But it was really respectable, especially against their budget. And I think Angel Studios really capitalized on all that money that they made. I believe it was Sound of Hope, the Possum Trot story. I watched that on 4th of July last year. And I liked that movie. It was a good movie. And I did a review of that on the Substack. Of course, it's in the paid archive, and it's a written review. So if you guys like what I do on the YouTube channel, and you are interested in Velvet Room publishing in general, check out the Substack. And I got paid subscriptions there, $5 a month if you want to support my writing, what I do. You got my novel Machine to Man. Actually, I can show off. Let's see if I can show off Velvet Room Publishing. So we'll go to velvetroompublishing.com, of course. This is this is the homepage for my Substack. So of course, if you're new, I can go put the link in the chat right there. I'll let's see if I can. I'm not sure if I can pin. I'm not sure if I can pin that for you guys, but this is from StreamYard. But that is, I just put it in the chat if you guys are interested. So yeah, this is my Substack. So I do the daily poll. So I did one today on if the Crusades were justified, and I think there was some justification considering there was the Reconquista, but you had, I think, I think it was the Umayyad Caliphate that invaded Spain, or to say Iberia is the more accurate term. They invaded Iberia in the 8th century, and they were not expelled from Spain until the year 1492. It was Queen Isabella, and I forget, Philip and Isabella. How could I forget? But anyway, that was on the if the Crusades were justified. These are short. It was like less than 5, even less than like 200 words a lot of the times that I just write on basically random things, whatever crosses my mind. Or what I think would be an interesting question. And I post it every single day. So that is the daily poll. And of course, we've got Velvet Room podcasting. I do In the Velvet Room and Joke with the Fool. So I do 2 episodes a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. These are audio only episodes. And then the first and third Friday of the month, I do a paid episode. So if you're a paid Substack subscriber, you get an extra episode of this podcast on the first and third Friday of the month, or 2 extra episodes on the first and third Friday of every month. And of course, you get access to all of the ones in the archive as well. And then I think the most interesting thing that I do, the thing that I like the most, is the paid movie reviews. If I can find, well, actually, I have it. Paid film review. Yes, so I do paid film review. So on the first day of the month, I use the daily poll to put up a poll on what movie I should review for the month. And there's a poll for paid subscribers, and there's the poll for everybody else. And if you're a paid subscriber, I count your vote by 10. And I have a lot of months where nobody votes on the poll. I guess I don't chill it enough. But so I'll just pick the movie. But whoever, however the folks go between the paid, which, it counts on 10 times more, and the free poll, I'll probably start posting the poll on my YouTube posts since people seem to engage with that. And I have one more subscriber on the YouTube channel. I think I hit 82. So thank you guys. 82 subscribers. And I have 81 on the Substack. So I definitely got to interact with the YouTube audience a lot and try to get you guys over to my Substack. But if you are a paid subscriber, you can read all of these reviews, and I'll keep doing the reviews every month. And then, of course, I'll have the additional. So I did review Sound of Hope, the Possum Trot story. As an additional, I just saw that movie in theaters and did a review. I actually took notes so I could write my review of it. And I like that movie. It was a good movie. But this is all the ones I've done so far. And I definitely got to get Marches out sometime this month, since it's March. So I definitely will. And I don't think anybody voted on that poll. So I'm probably just going to pick. I think I had Blade on the list. So I'm probably going to watch Blade, or The Last Samurai. But I'm leaning towards Blade. So let's see. Over an hour right now. So if there's anything else you guys want me to talk about, definitely welcome. But my voice is kind of getting tired, so I'm thinking about cutting it off soon. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. Definitely enjoy doing it. But like I said, my voice is getting a little bit tired. So unless you guys want me to talk about anything else, anything really pressing, I think I am ready to cut it off here. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. So, but I am out.